Imagine you worked hard all season gathering acorns. You keep a few safely in your tree hollow, and the rest you hand to a squirrel bank for safekeeping. It feels responsible, like you're doing the right thing with your money. But what if most of the acorns in the forest economy were never actually gathered or saved by squirrels at all? What if they existed only as numbers on squirrel bank ledgers, created inside the banking system? I am McSquirrel, and this is McSquirrel Explains. Here, I break down complex financial and economic ideas in a way any squirrel can follow. In this video, you'll learn what fractional reserve banking is and how squirrel banks create money through lending. You'll see how that shapes the forest economy and why it matters to every squirrel who saves, borrows, or spends acorns. But first, let's clear up a common belief about how new acorns, the money squirrels use every day, are actually created. Section 1. The story most squirrels believe. Most squirrels picture the banking system in a simple way. We're taught that squirrel banks are just acorn warehouses. You take your acorn notes to the bank keeps them safe, and then lends some to another squirrel. That squirrel pays the loan back with interest. The bank earns a profit, and you earn a small reward for letting them hold your stash. It sounds logical, fair, and circular. But in the modern financial system, that picture is incomplete. Squirrel banks don't always wait for a squirrel to deposit acorns before they lend. In practice, it often works the other way around. Squirrel banks aren't just storage vaults. They also play a central role in creating new acorns through lending, and that process shapes the forest economy in ways many squirrels never notice. Section 2. How loans create money. Most of the acorns in the forest economy today aren't physical. Only about 3 to 10% exist as actual acorn notes and coins. The other 90 to 97% exists only as numbers on squirrel bank ledgers, created as loans. When a squirrel family visits the bank to borrow acorns for a new tree hollow, the bank doesn't check its vault for spare notes from other squirrels. Instead, the bank and the family sign a loan agreement. Once that agreement is signed, the bank simply credits numbers into the family's account. At that moment, new acorns enter circulation as a deposit. Those acorns weren't taken from a vault or transferred from another squirrel stash. In this system, they were created through the lending process. This means commercial squirrel banks aren't just moving acorns around. They're the primary creators of the currency used in everyday transactions. And this isn't some hidden secret. Central banks, including the Bank of England, have published explanations stating that when a bank makes a loan, it creates a matching deposit in the borrower's account. In the modern forest economy, lending itself creates the acorns that get spent and traded. Section 3. Fractional reserve banking and its origins. The modern forest banking system grew out of practices in the old European woods. Before glowing screens and digital ledgers, squirrels used gold coins as money. They stored their gold with goldsmith squirrels in London Borough. The smiths kept the gold safe and handed out paper receipts. Over time, squirrels realized it was easier to trade the receipts than to carry heavy gold through the forest. The receipts slowly became the money. The goldsmiths noticed something important. Most squirrels never came back for their gold at the same time. So the smiths began writing more receipts than the gold they actually held, lending out the extras and charging interest. As long as every squirrel didn't show up at once, the system worked. That was the beginning of fractional reserve banking. Squirrel banks keep only a fraction of deposits and lend the rest. Here's a simple example. You deposit 10,000 acorns. If the reserve requirement is 10%, the bank keeps 1,000 acorns set aside and can lend out the remaining 9,000. Your balance still shows 10,000, even though some of those acorns have been lent out. Now imagine 5 squirrels with each 10,000 acorns at the same bank. On paper, it looks simple. Each squirrel checks their account and sees the full amount. Behind the scenes, the bank uses most of those acorns for lending. With a 10% reserve rule, it can use 90% of what it holds. From those 5 deposits, that becomes 45,000 acorns available for loans. When another squirrel asks to borrow 5,000 acorns to start a mushroom farm, the bank doesn't take all 5,000 from one nest. It draws small portions from across the pool. Every balance still reads 10,000. To the borrower, those 5,000 acorns are fully spendable. To the original squirrels, their acorns still appear in their accounts. The forest now has more spendable acorns than before. The bank pays the original squirrels a small reward, maybe 1% a year. It charges the borrower more, perhaps 5%. The difference is how the bank earns its living. This is a core part of the business model. Create a loan, create a deposit, and collect interest. It shows why squirrel banks sit at the center of the forest economy. They don't just move acorns, they create them through lending. In some countries today, including the United States squirrel land, the formal reserve requirement for many deposits has been set to 0%. This change came in 2020 under an ample reserves framework, meaning banks aren't required to hold a fixed percentage of physical acorns against those deposits. Section 4. Modern limits on banks and the ripple effects of money creation. If squirrel banks can create acorns through lending, what stops them from doing it endlessly? The limits come from international regulators and central banks. They focus on two main rules. 1. Capital requirements. Instead of keeping piles of acorns in a vault, banks must have enough of their own equity to absorb losses if borrowers fail to repay. 2. Liquidity rules. Banks must hold tradable assets like forest government bonds that can be sold quickly during short-term crises. The system is no longer mainly about the physical acorns you deposited. It's more about managing the risks created by lending. The consequences of money creation. This method of creating money has three major effects in the forest. 1. Perpetual debt. Because most acorns are created as loans, there's always more debt than actual acorns to pay it off. Interest keeps the cycle going. Someone always has to borrow more or default. 2. Inflation. As banks create more credit, each individual acorn can lose value. Prices rise not just from supply and demand, but from the growing number of acorns in circulation. And 3. Wealth concentration. Think about a large mortgage for a prime tree hollow. Over 30 years, a borrower might pay hundreds of thousands of acorns in interest. That's decades of a squirrel's labor exchanged for money the bank created in minutes on a ledger. Section 5. The future of banking. Because the forest banking system runs on confidence, it depends on stability and trust. If many squirrels tried to withdraw their acorns at once, banks would rely on reserves, liquidity, and central bank support. Financial crises, like those in 1929 and 2008, showed how important those safeguards are. Today, squirrels are exploring alternatives. Some countries have studied possible changes. Squirrels in Iceland, for example, examined proposals for different banking structures. Central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs, could move some forms of money creation from commercial squirrel banks to squirrel central banks. That could change how credit and payments work in the forest economy. For now, these ideas are still being studied and debated. Conclusion. Money and debt, two sides of the same coin. Many squirrels think of banks as simple middlemen. In reality, banks create much of the money used in everyday transactions through loans. Once you see how closely money and debt are connected, the forest economy starts to make more sense. Acorns in a bank account still serve an important purpose. They offer safety, convenience, and liquidity for daily life. But in the banking system, those acorns are also part of the bank's balance sheet. They represent a claim, not a physical pile set aside just for you. To build lasting wealth, many squirrels look beyond simply holding acorns in the bank. They focus on owning things that can hold or grow value over time, like skills, productive land, cash crops, gold, rental properties, or shares in successful forest enterprises. Understanding the difference between stored money and long-term assets can help you make more balanced decisions about saving, investing, and planning for the future. Thanks for watching. If this helped you understand how squirrel banks create money through lending and how that shapes the forest economy, consider subscribing. We post new videos every week breaking down complex ideas into something clear and easy for every squirrel to follow. And feel free to share this with a friend who's curious about how the forest economy really works. Until next time, keep learning, stay curious, and take good care of your acorn.